Good morning, colleagues. Good morning. Good morning. We are going to start now. The two colleagues who are also joining us this time. Uh, I know it's a good afternoon to you, side, but so I just wanted to start by introducing you to the colleagues around the table and those who are joining virtually that side. We have our first presentation as part of the new Center for Teaching Excellence in the faculty. And we have Sohag Lahiri as one of our first speakers. I've met her at one of the EDUCA conference in Germany last year. It was a very amazing kind of conference, and we exchanged contacts. And yeah, since then we've been in touch with each other. I just want to just read her bio. Say, is a seasoned learning architect with over 20 years of experience in instructional design, e-learning development, and curriculum strategy. She is based in Kolkata in India, and she has led impactful projects and specialized in accessibility-focused design, SCON development, and multimedia learning solutions. She has a strong background in project management, content development, learning design, and learner management system deployment. She holds a postgraduate diploma in international trade from Symbiosis International University, and also possesses a bachelor's degree in economics and from Ferguson College in Pune. Her career includes leadership roles at Tata Interactive Systems and Helix Technology Solutions, where she has shaped instructional strategies and mentored teams across the world. She founded SDL Corporation in 2015, which is now in its 10th year of operation as a full service learning solutions studio. So with that, I want to say welcome, Sohag, to this presentation, and we are here to listen to you. And I also want to call upon colleagues to engage with you fully. And yeah, take it over.
Thank you so much, and a good morning to all of you. Thank you so much, Professor Chaka, for inviting me to speak to everyone. I'm hoping and I'm pretty sure we are going to have a very interactive and interesting discussion. Why I say interactive and engaging and interesting is because I'm expecting everybody to contribute, and I would not like it to be just a one-way street where I'm speaking. So the session has been structured and I have designed it in a way that everybody is able to contribute and provide their own experiences, inputs as we move along the session. So I would really appreciate it if all of you actually joined in at various points during the session. Any specific questions and answers that you have for me, there is a separate Q&A session at the end. We will, of course, throw the floor open, and you could ask as many questions at that point as well. So having said that, just Professor Chaka, should I begin the presentation now? Yeah, I think I can. I believe. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, thank you. Thank you for confirming. Um, so we are going to start, as we all know, the topic for today is how, or how we can best use technology to support learning. Um, and I think in the present context, this has become especially important, given the scenario that we live in post COVID, with digital transformation coming in everywhere. But the question is, how do we use technology in a way that actually enhances and supports current teaching methods without trying to eliminate anything, or without trying to do away with things, but being more complementary in nature, rather than very knee jerk and very drastic in the way it is approached. Having said that, let's move to the next slide. You Professor Chaka has already introduced me and in the poster, so I will not go into an introduction as such for myself. I do come from a very strong learning background, learning for about 23 years now. Um, I have worked with different types of learning. So, not just e learning, but also classroom training methods, flipped learning, hybrid teaching methodologies. I have also worked on various projects with various institutions across the world. I have worked with Finnish education, with Danish technical schools, with an engineering university, the King Fahd University in Saudi, and several such educational institutions apart from corporate training as well. Um, as Professor Chaka already told you, I founded my own learning company 10 years back in 2015. And some of the services that we do offer are e-learning, and I am an instructional designer or a learning architect by profession. So that is, of course, one of the things we offer: digitization of content, translation, videos, animations, and graphic design services. Today, however, the crux of the session will be actually more about learning challenges, and how we can use technology to overcome some of these challenges that everybody in the world of learning is currently facing. Um, can I'll just exit the screen. I think someone's trying to join in. Just give me a moment. Thank you. I'm sorry to stop midway. Um, yes. So, our session, as we move along the session, these are the main touch points that we will address. Um, we will start off with where we are now in terms of the current scenario, and in terms of what the learning needs are as educators, as instructors, teachers. What are the learning needs? And when we say learning needs, they mean your learning needs as an educator, as well as the needs of your students. Next, we will cover challenges in higher education, um, how e-learning can come in to support and help to mitigate some of these challenges at least. Um, Many universities, I'm sure yours too, has some existing systems which are already there. Now, what is the best way to integrate with the systems which are already there, instead of trying to do things completely new or from scratch? Because obviously that is not always the recommended approach. It is easier to adapt to what is already there or to enhance what is already there. uh, Technology and compatibility, how we can make technology compatible with existing systems and with the existing teaching methodologies which are there, because teaching has been around and the methodologies that you work with, um, teaching methods, teaching strategies, those are things which are there and which are there to stay. So but since we there is technology and we do live in a world which is digital, how best can we use digitalization to meet your needs and also to ensure compatibility between what you are doing, what you have been teaching, and technology on the other hand. The last part is, of course, the question and answer session, which I feel will be important. And please feel free to ask any questions at that point in time, and I will try my best to address them. Um, Before we go into the next slide, uh, what I would really like is, we have some participants who have also joined in. Some are there, I think, with Professor Chaka. So if everybody could give a very, very brief introduction, your name and what you do, that would really, I think, help to get the session going. Can somebody start off?
Yes. Good afternoon once again. So, still good morning here. Perhaps we can start with those that are online, just to
Yes.
quickly introduce themselves, and then we can then come back to the venue here.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
all right. Uh, let's start from the top of the screen, Koketo. Please introduce yourself quickly, and perhaps you can also indicate what you teach, if that could help as well. Koketo,
Hi, Prof. Hi, everyone. Am I audible?
yes, you are. Go ahead.
Um, can you kindly repeat what you said, Prof? I was busy with students on the office.
I was saying, introduce yourself and what you do, what you teach, so that we can contextualize what Sohag is going to be talking about. I think she also wants to know who she's talking to this morning. Introduce
Oh,
yourself quickly. Yes.
okay. My name is Kweketso, surname Sereo. I'm a lecturer in the School of Philosophy doing a module called Understanding the World. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, perhaps just can you, for information's sake, for Sohag, just perhaps indicate the number of students that you have.
Yes.
The number of students I have in my class is around 340 students. It's a very huge class. I'm sharing it with a co-lecturer. He's taking the other half. We have about 800 and something students. So my class, usually there's around 340 students. Thank you.
Thank you, Koketsu. Next, um,
To Louise Marie.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Sohag and Prof. Mpo, and thank you, Granny, for the organization. I am Louise Marie Kombrink. I'm a senior lecturer in history of art. I have currently about 120 first years, and I will next semester have about 36 third years. I also have 4 honor students in various modules, and I have master students and a PhD student. So I also enrolled for the teaching award. So I was thinking that perhaps the use of technology can aid in that regard. Thank you.
Thank
Awesome.
you, Marie.
Katlego?
Thank you, Prof. Well, I'm Katlego Molelekwa in the School of Philosophy based in Mafikeng campus. I'm the co-lecturer for Understanding the Oral module. I have a huge class also, both for second years and third years. On the average, I'm averaging around 250 students per session. So it will be interesting to see how we can integrate technology in trying to disseminate the subject matter to students. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Znakile? Also multitasking.
Thank you very much. My name is Kemohetse Morapedi, and I'm lecturing PADM 312. It's an introduction to research on the Bosch campus. I have currently, I think, 165 students, but I'm teaching also for the contact students as well as the distance students. But for the distance students, I think there's about 25 students in my class. Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Znakile, are you back? Still looking for the mouse. Peladi?
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Peladi Fakude, and I teach first year students, and my classes averages to 80 per class. And I also have a few masters and honors students. So that's just about it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Awesome. Fusiame?
Good morning, everyone. I am Khusiame. I teach third years and second years. The third years range from 115 to 122, and my second years are 177. Sorry, what was the other part that I had to mention? So what I'm looking forward to learning is obviously integrating how I can use technology in my teaching, especially because I'm teaching social theory, which oftentimes students might find a little bit boring. So, gamification and stuff like that makes it a little bit more interesting to, or makes it easier rather to grasp the content. So yeah, thank you very much. Bye.
Yes. I also want to mention that Fusiame and Peladi are our new teaching and learning committee coordinators who are assisting me in this process. I see Dr. Gerard has also joined. Dr. Gerard was also part of the Educa conference last year in Germany and is part of CTL. Dr. Gerard, will you introduce yourself? Perhaps you also have met Sohag at the conference last year.
We might have, our paths might have crossed in a positive sense. Yes, good morning. Gerard du Plessis, I'm the director of All Matters Digital Education. That means the conduit and the content. We assist faculties in setting up the technologies to engage with students and enhance teaching and learning, albeit remotely or in class. And then in terms of the content, the instructional design of modules, design of digital study material, the technology support, preemptive so in classes. We don't take over the IT role. We have soldiers on the floor, on the ground that would survey these venues for possible glitches ahead of teaching and learning. But all matters teaching and learning wise, we are responsible for the whole of University, Northwest University, across all 3 campuses. Thank you.
Great stuff.
Thank you, sir.
Now I've lost my. Okay. Bridget?
Good morning, everybody. I am not a lecturer. I manage the disability unit on the
Yes.
Potchefstroom campus, and this session was interesting for me because I feel that it's just important for me to know what the options are, because sometimes I do get lecturers who are like, I don't really know how to support a particular student. So I'm literally just here to get some knowledge and understanding in terms of how maybe technology can be integrated into learning, so that I can maybe advise accordingly when a lecturer approaches me concerning a student with who's maybe neurodiverse and things like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bridget. Diana?
Bridget, thank you so much. That was of special interest to me because I specialize in accessibility for learning. So that was interesting to know. Thank you.
Awesome.
Morning, everyone. I'm Diana Harrison, and I teach English literature on Mafeking campus. And I have 480 students in first year. And I do use some technology in teaching, but I really need to integrate it more. And that's what I'm here today to see if I can integrate it in e-learning.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
So much.
Where am I? Haupalelwe? Oh, PG. Yeah.
My name, of course, as can be seen, I'm development studies lecturer. Together are more than 670. To me, it's not about learning how to integrate technology. I know everything that I use in class is technology, whether it's my voice, the pen that I use, the screen that is there, is technology. Maybe if there's anything new, maybe how best I can integrate, but I know that I'm using technology throughout. There's no way I can do without the technology.
Thank you, PG. Prof. Gilbert. Quick introduction. No need to be multitasking as well. Henry. Oh, we have done. Camera, we have done. Amen. It's a done. We've done what's here.
Good morning, colleagues. I am Kame Molope on the Mafeking campus from the School of Government Studies in the focus area International Relations. I have 3 groups. First year, 74 students. Third year, 35, and honors, 2 students, unfortunately. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have done Kutrano. You were here. And yeah, Julian. Still making coffee. Liana.
Okay, I'm Leona Venter. I'm also from the Center for Teaching and Learning, and I'm a senior instructional designer, and I head up the unit that creates interactive multimedia videos and graphics for study material for our lecturers.
Great stuff. Luis Marie expanded to Joaquin. Jason number 7. Oh, still looking for the boys. Onalena. Christian. Phil.
Good morning,
Onalena
colleagues.
is there? Yeah.
Good morning, colleagues. I'm also from the Center of Teaching and Learning. I am an Ifundi assistant. So basically I assist with the learning management system and I also assist with lesson development. So this lesson is interesting to me as I want to see how best I can adapt maybe more tools to support lecturers in their teaching and learning environment. Thank you.
Awesome. We've done. Okay, Phil. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Prof. I'm Phil Pretorius. I'm in the School of Communication on the Vaal Triangle campus, and I lecture all things communication, a little bit into visual communication as well. So we love the technology. Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Prof. Lorraine. Zini.
Greetings. Greetings, Prof. and the team. Lorraine Bitumelomzini, Public Administration in Vanderbilt Park. I just received a message today in the morning and thought to join the group since this is interesting. I have 320 students, first-year students and honor students. I hope I will have some leeway into enhancing my teaching and learning. Thank you.
Start. Fumero, my chef. Multitasking there. In the room here we have Mr. Monakala.
Okay, my name is Tristan Monakala. I specialize in visual communication. I teach web design and everything. Oh, good day, colleagues. I am Upen Zengake. I specialize in journalism and TV and radio production. I have quite a reasonable amount of students in my classes. Second year, about 30. For third year, about 40. And my honors is just 4 students. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Good day, colleagues. Weekend Shopping from School of Languages. I'm teaching 30 students, syntax and poetry. I have about 63 students and honors. It's 4 students. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. I'm Sana Lubongo. I teach in the School of Communication, different subject, research, development, communication. My classes average 120 this year, but they go beyond that. I also belong to Teach and Touch. It's a committee in the Faculty of Humanity, which is responsible for driving technology integration in teaching and learning. I also personally interested in teaching innovation and technology, as we all know, is part of that process. But I look forward to learning on how I can use technology in addressing many of the challenges we face, from engagement to even creating curiosity among our students, which is one of the key issues we are confronted with here. Thank you very much.
Good day, colleagues. I'm Dr. Augustine Mamupale. I'm lecturing French. I'm dealing with about 32 students here in Michigan. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Primelo Marumo. I'm from the School of Philosophy in Michigan campus. My student number now at second year is about 100. Thank you very much.
Good morning, colleagues. I'm Chilombo Banda. I teach in the School of Communication, specializing in corporate communication. My student numbers range from between 150 to 200 in a good year. And I am also, like Louise Marie, a participant this year in the Teaching Excellence Awards under Innovation of Teaching and Learning.
Good morning. My name is Moleboge Make from the School of Languages. I teach language practice first year and third year. Language practice is translation, interpreting, editing, transcribing, all those nice things. My student numbers are also, compared to what I've been hearing, first year is about 60, third year about 40.
Thank you, Prof. My name is Dr. Evaristo Sadishino. I'm currently a postdoctoral fellow at the Indigenous Language and Media at TT. Back home in Nigeria, I teach communication and media studies related to subject matters. I'm looking forward to learning more with respect to online resources, and taking it back home to further engender my task.
Interesting.
My name is Popol Nzamari. I'm looking forward to getting more about how can I use technology to enhance my skills.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Olato. I'm currently a postdoctoral researcher, human, but back home in Nigeria, I teach development and communication related courses. So I'm looking forward to learning how to integrate technology into teaching.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Samanwa Jobide. I'm a postgraduate student, PhD student under IMA Research and Teaching. Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes the introduction from our side. I think you have a good grasp of your audience this morning. So yeah, I see online it's about 28, 27 colleagues. And then here we about 12 or more. Yeah. All right.
Great.
Yes, you can continue.
Yes. I think quite a few people have joined in later once we started the introductions. So for everyone's benefit, I already, I think, covered the initial introductory slides. I'll just very quickly go over the agenda at least, and just the beginning. So everybody's on the same page before we start. So those who've joined in later, don't miss out. I'll just do it really quickly so we can start off without much delay. For those who've missed out this part and who joined late, today's session, as we all know, is using technology to support learning. And we will be going through the challenges we are facing in the world of education as educators, in keeping students engaged, in embracing technology, in collaborating or using collaborative techniques, which help in the adoption of technology. So these are many of the themes that we will cover today. Also, most importantly, how to use e-learning and e-learning methods within your current present teaching methodology. Professor Chaka has already introduced me. I come from a background of instruction design, learning. I've worked with various on various projects which have explored different methodologies of teaching students, whether it is classroom teaching, flipped classroom, hybrid, virtual instructor-led, which is what we are doing right now, and also pure e-learning. Also digital combinations of hybrid, which is digital and non-digital components of learning. Um, I've been working as an instructional designer for about 23 years. So I've practically seen the evolution of learning and how learning evolved from what it was, which was largely not so heavily technology based, to where it is now. Um, I founded my own learning solutions company 10 years back, and we are full service. And some of the services that we offer are e-learning, instructional design, digitization of content, videos, animations, graphic design services, visual communication, basically anything which comes under learning. The agenda that we hope to cover today is we will start off with where we are right now, our current learning needs, the learning needs which are actually your learning needs as educators, and the learning needs of your students, which are both your needs and your students' needs are very inextricably linked. And that's what we will explore. Yes, there are challenges, as we all know, in higher education, which are of different types. We will talk about those. How e-learning can come in to support you in overcoming or at least mitigating some of these challenges, and how we can integrate technology and e-learning with the existing systems that you have, what we can do in order to take a step forward into going more digital without diluting your teaching and without diluting the instruction which all of you are masters of. And finally, what we will talk about is technology and compatibility, how technology has to, by definition, be compatible with what you are doing, and what you can do to ensure that it is very seamless. The adoption of technology is seamless within what you already do. And as a result, you are able to derive, you and your students can derive maximum benefits out of it. We will definitely have a question and answer session at the end, where I will try and address each of your questions. So please keep your questions aside. I'm sure you will have plenty. And then I think now we can go into the actual crux of the matter. I think there's, yeah, just a second. I think someone's trying to admit, yes. Okay. Before
So,
we
is
begin,
there a way to assist to this side to ensure proper flow
yes,
so that
but
we can admit
so
them?
yes, I don't think so, but I think right after this, I doubt whether anyone will really
Yeah.
be tuning in, because it's
Okay,
already, I
that's
think,
fine.
9:30 to it, so I think we should be good.
All right. Just don't forget to record.
Yes, we are recording the whole session. The recording is already on.
Oh, all right. Awesome. Go ahead. Thanks.
You're welcome. So these are some of the icons which you will come across during the presentation. Whenever you see this icon, that basically means, with these speech bubbles, this basically means there's a poll which is coming up. You are expected to answer the poll. There are no right or wrong answers. I know you're used to correcting assessments, but there are really no right or wrong answers. Please feel free to provide a response as per whatever you feel, and through your experiences or your opinions. And we will, of course, go through each. At the end of the poll, we will discuss the results and any reasoning, rationale behind it. We will have a short discussion and a debrief on the poll. And the second icon, which is important, is this discussion or reflection icon. On slides, you will see either of these. One or two slides, I think you will not see anything, but in general, you will either come across this icon, which is a poll icon, or the discussion icon on a slide, which means, so by looking at the icon, you'll know what you're expected to participate in. As regards the discussion, whenever we have a discussion icon, I will throw open a question for all of you to reflect on and answer, again, based on your experience, what you feel, and what you feel could also benefit everybody else in this session. The reason I've explained these icons is because they're important, because we hope to make this session as interactive and contributory as possible, which I feel is the best way to derive maximum benefit out of the session, instead of it just being a one-way street where I'm speaking and everybody's just on mute. I don't think that makes much sense at all. So we will start off with I'm an instructional designer, so of course I will always start off a session with the learning objectives for this session. I'm sure as educators, as teachers, you always have learning outcomes mapped to whatever you are teaching or to your lesson plan. You have a lesson plan in mind, and you could consider this as sort of the overreaching or the overarching objectives for this session. I won't call it a lesson. So we hope that by the end of this session, all of us, we are able to identify what your current learning needs are. We are able to identify the challenges which we are all facing as educators in education. How e-learning can support you. So we identify what are the methods, what are the strategies, or what are the approaches which e-learning can provide you with, or even the tools that e-learning can provide you with to supplement what you're already teaching, and to provide support. And please understand, I use the word support over here because you're already doing a great job with whatever you're teaching. So what we are expected to do is actually e-learning should be providing you the support without diluting your teaching. Why this part is important is because I'm sure you have come across e-learning which doesn't always serve the purpose, which sometimes dilutes the teaching and the gravity of whatever you are trying to teach. When I'm saying gravity, I don't mean that teaching shouldn't be fun. But yes, we are all aware that there is a certain amount of weight which all kind of teaching or education carries. And by digitalizing something, we should not dilute the essence. Basically, we don't try to transform. So digitalization means we are digitalizing or using technology to help you with your teaching. We are not trying to make a TikTok video out of the teaching. So that is the reason why I say support you. Also, we recognize how technology is integrated with learning. We cannot run away from technology. So it is better if we embrace it and integrate it with whatever we have already been doing. Most of you, I'm guessing, have experience, you're experienced educators, and even before a lot of the digitalization started off, you were already using traditional teaching methods. You were already using your classroom methods to teach students. Now the question is how to use those same methods, but also marry them with technology so that you can keep your learners engaged, and also use maybe newer approaches to teach the same thing that you're teaching. Now, let's go into the first, before we actually go into everything, I think a very, very major topic, and which has touched all of our lives, especially in education, has been the impact of COVID-19. Um, when I'm talking about, the impact of COVID-19, then I'm saying there has been most definitely a shift in teaching and delivery methods. But before we actually go into detail on this, maybe what I would like to do is actually have a poll which would allow us to gauge and assess, for all of us to assess what the impact has been of COVID-19. We know there has been an impact, but how severe was the impact? I think all of us have our own stories to tell. So here, what we are going to do is, we will have, as you can see, we have a Q&A icon on this slide, which means we actually, can everybody see the question on their screen? Okay. So the question is, how did COVID-19 impact the way you teach? And do you have a story to share? So would anybody like to volunteer and start off on this? I'm expecting people to answer and interact. So maybe if one person could start off, anyone?
Hi, I can come in here. Thank you. It's Louise Marie.
Thank you.
COVID-19 did impact the way I teach, although for me it was, I couldn't get, it was just so great to get back to face. And the reason for that is that talking into my computer was excruciating. One day my power went off and I didn't realize that. And with that, the Wi-Fi went off and nobody contacted me. So I sat there for 45 minutes talking to my screen and the students couldn't even hear me anymore. So, and I also made use of translation services and all of those things. It did make me more aware of the importance of recording things and making digital material available. But in that sense, I'm quite conservative and I couldn't wait to get back to what I consider normal, is to stand in front of a class and see in my students' eyes if they were following what I was doing.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That's a really great viewpoint. And I'm sure you will find parts of whatever you've talked about coming up in the session itself. Is there someone else who could contribute to this?
I can jump in. I think the benefits for me was I got to experiment with a lot of tools to engage students. And that was driven by the fact that students were much more fatigued. I mean, I agree with what Louise said about the fact that, you're teaching and you're just speaking to the computer and there is lack of interaction from the side of the students. Even when you ask questions, they're not really responsive. You're unsure whether they understood or not. So having face-to-face really kind of help, because you're able to see their expression and you can also see, as you go along the lesson, whether you think they just are withholding their responses and they're just confused. But the benefit of it was the fact that you had to try a lot of ways to integrate technology to try and get them engaged if they don't want to speak, making use of discussion poll and forums and all of that to just get them talking about issues. So yeah, it has its benefits. There were benefits and also there were also, some disadvantages as well. So that's how I experienced it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was very, very useful and that was an eye-opener, I'm sure, for many. Is there anybody else who would like to contribute to the discussion?
Yeah, thank you. Oh.
Okay. For me, just like Peladi, I think there were two sides to COVID-19 when it came to teaching and learning, the disadvantages and the advantages. Advantages was that I could now I was more cognizant of different tools to use for teaching and learning, not just Microsoft Teams or Zoom or other means. And then the disadvantage was that there was a missing middle of students. I was not sure if they were either attending or being active in the modules. So I remember the university resorted to having those study packs, printing those study packs, and quantitatively, we were not sure how many students actually received those student packs. So that was one of the disadvantages that I picked up during that time.
Maybe just to add, I think COVID exposed or revealed how integral the human element is and must be in teaching and learning. Speaking in hindsight, we now have the narrative about COVID products referring to students whose competencies expose some wide gaps between industry expectations and what universities thought they were producing through technology. So that in itself, it's one of the reasons why I'm interested in knowing how best can we integrate technology to effectively execute our mandates as educators. Thank you.
To add to what Dr. Musara is saying, I think it is more of a downfall where I was using any and every technological tool that I could find out there to really want to achieve whatever I needed to achieve during that particular time. So it was so confusing because I thought that, these technological tools that I was using, probably they were solving any problems that we were faced with during that particular time.
Great. Thank you so much. I think so all of us can collectively agree that, so I'll just go back to the slide, that COVID-19 basically pushed everybody into the deep end, and, everybody was forced to forced to jump in and use whatever tools were available in order to reach out to students, in order to teach. And it was more like being forced to use technology. And in majority of educators across the world, it's not just you who have shared your stories. I think if you ask anyone across the world, they will have similar stories to tell, because nobody was really prepared. So everybody just scrambled and did whatever best they could, because everybody had the best interest of their students at heart. But what the fallout of all of this was that, now again, I think you will agree that there has been a slight shift in the teaching and the delivery methods from before COVID to what it is now. While I think we have moved more or less back to the classroom, of course, because there is really no substitute as such for face-to-face teaching. But there are tools and methods which are available and which have been made available, and also, as educators, you have been made aware that they are there for you to use apart from your usual or apart from the traditional teaching methods, and basically this move is more towards asynchronous learning. So what is asynchronous learning? I just very quickly define that. So asynchronous learning is when the learning is not time bound, it is self-paced, and it allows more control for the learner. The learner in this case is your student or your students, and it basically stops. I mean, basically it's not time bound. There is no specific time limit. The learning can happen at any time. That is why it's asynchronous, because the learning can take place at any time. It does not necessarily only have to be when the learner is being, say, taught inside a classroom. So I think the takeaways from the very grim situation which we faced during COVID-19 was that there are additional tools, and in this case, of course, technology, which you can use in your teaching methods despite having gone back to the classroom. And they can benefit the learner. That's something which nobody actually ever thought of using. Technology was being used in a lot of other fields, but not necessarily in education up till that point. Okay. And yes, also another reason for the greater reliance on technology is that students were exposed to, because you were using different tools. There was someone who mentioned that he was using every tool he could find, and whatever he could find. Now, the thing is, because different technological tools, different technologies, so for example, Blackboard, or Google, there was something called Google Jamboard, which is now no longer being used, in fact, or something as simple as, say, a PDF. These are tools, or videos, links to videos. I'm sure even after going back to the classroom, there are several of you who are sharing links, videos, PDFs, which maybe you were not using earlier when you were teaching. Sometimes some concepts can be explained, perhaps while you are doing the explaining, but visually for example, I think someone talked about teaching visual communication. So for example, in a subject like visual communication, digital tools can help in your teaching, or several other subjects as well. Also, the different resources available to students. So for example, what are the different resources which are available at the moment to students, which you are using, apart from what I've just mentioned a few? Is there anything else that you're using currently? Anybody who's using anything different which they were not using earlier? Maybe somebody who has not answered so far, if you would like to share what are the different tools that you've started using post-COVID, which you were not using, but of course tools in terms of technology.
Okay, sure. With me, regarding visual communication, we used to use a software that was installed in a computer, and it was not cloud-based. Now we are using a cloud-based software so that students can access it any and everywhere they are.
Definitely. So you are expecting students to actually use technology, right? And you are using it to enhance whatever you are already teaching. So that is the reason I went into the impact of COVID-19 at all, because it definitely has had an impact, and it has actually, that is the reason why technology has got fast-tracked almost into the field of education. Yes. So now, what are the resources which are available to students post-COVID? So apart from, what I've mentioned, which are very basic, which is like PDFs, videos, links, you could also have, of course, e-learning courses. You could have assessments which are digitalized. So for example, you have course which you are teaching face to face, but do you really need the assessment to also, do you actually need it to be proctored? Do you actually need to be there in person, or do you think you could just digitalize it? That is, of course, with the right rubrics in place, with the right making sure the questions are tied to the correct learning outcomes, keeping all of that in mind, um, you are able to digitalize the assessment, and as a result, maybe you can do things which would allow you to do things which you couldn't do earlier. For example, you could actually compare the scores of students at your end. You could analyze, you could track if everybody's completed the assessment or not. You could track historically. So for example, say if you're teaching two classes and you would like to yourself, for your own knowledge, you would like to compare between the two classes, what the scores are looking like. Are there some problems? So for example, if you have, say, an assessment broken down into, say, if it's history, history is a subject, you have, say, the assessment broken down into, say, I'm just giving a very loose example here, say modern history, ancient history, and maybe say Chinese history. And you see that say 90% of students have not done well in ancient history, which is an indicator for you, and you can see that and you say, okay, so I think this is perhaps where they are struggling, and maybe this is what I need to actually tweak my lesson plan, or I maybe need to devote a little more, put a little more emphasis on this part of what I'm teaching. And this part, everybody seems to have done reasonably well. Or you could see that there is a particular student who's done, say, exceedingly well in one section and has not done well. So maybe that would allow you to identify, whereas all of these things that I've mentioned, trying to do it when you're actually physically correcting papers is very, very difficult to track and analyze. So assessment methods, definitely we can benefit from digitalization, because they allow us to do things which we couldn't do earlier with a pen and paper based system. We could perhaps, but it would just take a lot of time and effort, which in your most everybody's schedules would be very difficult. To take away too much of your time and effort in order to try to do the same things and achieve the same outcome that digitalized assessments allow you. Also, it is true that students, once they graduate from university, college, whatever education that they are studying, or whatever course they're studying, when they graduate, they are expected to be able to do well in the workplace and be employable. That is what you would want as educators. That is what universities would want for their students, to be employable. Now, again, the world has changed after COVID-19. We've got a huge amount of technology and digitalization happening in the workplace, a massive amount. There's AI coming in, there's machine learning. So a lot of job descriptions, a lot of jobs have undergone changes because of digitalization. Now, if students are insulated from all of the technology, the students are insulated from all of these changes, what happens when they actually go to the workplace? Then they are not prepared, they are not equipped to be able to handle the technology or the pressures imposed by technology. So you as educators are in a great position to be able to at least introduce them or make them aware of what are the technological changes that they will have to probably face, and at least equip them with some of the tech skills that they would need in order to do their jobs well. Because in every subject there has been some amount of technology which has come in, and in every profession. So unless you are starting off at the grassroots and at the education level, how do you actually, you can't suddenly make, they can't, you can't expect them to make a jump and suddenly become tech savvy when they start, and what will happen as a result is, if they are not introduced to the tech skills at the university level, when they actually go into the workplace, they will largely become unemployable, which is not something great as educators, which is not great for universities, which is not great for anyone really. So these are issues that we need to think deeply about. Some of them have already, as we've discovered, we've already come across some of these issues, but some of them definitely need, we need to understand the correlation between why technology is important, and how within what you're already doing, why involving technology within what you're doing is so important. Um, Last, I would say, it's not mentioned here, but what I would definitely talk about when we are going back to the shift in teaching and delivery methods, and when we are moving towards asynchronous learning, is that students have also got used to using tools and technology which they used during COVID-19. So though we have moved back to classroom teaching, but some using some of the methods and some of the tools uh, to supplement what you're already doing would help in keeping learners or students engaged. I'm sure all of you would agree that student engagement is a problem given the attention spans, because attention spans have reduced drastically thanks to smartphones and digital devices. So to expect them to be completely non-digital in the classroom, and then suddenly, when the rest of their lives are wired, or it's digital in nature, so to bridge that gap between complete non-digital and digital, it is wiser to have a bridge which is, yes, face to face, and the crux being face to face teaching, but in having that bridge, allowing some use of technology, some use of digital tools, so that that gap is not so drastic, and that will translate into better student engagement. These are some of the challenges in higher education which have emerged across the world through a lot of research and a lot of studies. Before we go into this, we'll do a quick poll. Like I promised you, we will have a poll. We will just do a quick poll to see what all of you feel about this. Please answer. There are no right or wrong answers. You've got the poll showing up on your screen. Please start answering. Only one answer, please. There, we've got the first answer coming in.
Sohag, can you just clarify on the technology related issues?
Yes, technology related issues could be several. It could be that you want to use technology, but maybe you don't know how to use the technology.
Okay.
For example, it could be that.
So
Uh,
accessibility issues and digital
yes.
skills and so on.
Could be, yes, it could be
Okay.
that you want to use technology in your teaching, but maybe you feel that you lack the knowledge or the training to be able to do that. Technology related issues could be that you're not aware of what technology or how technology can be used in your teaching, but you are aware maybe that it's a good idea, but you don't really know how to do that. It could be anything.
Okay.
We've got just 8 votes, and I think there are more than 25 of us over here. So I'd really like everybody to quickly finish this so we can go into the debrief. We've just got 9 votes so far. To actually make this exercise meaningful, we actually need everybody to vote. There are, again, no right or wrong answers. So please go ahead and provide your response based on whatever you feel is right. I think only less than half of everyone over here has voted. What, 13 now?
So there's a very interesting discussion here, so Harsh.
Yes.
On the poll, they believe that student engagement is actually one of the challenging aspects, the most challenging.
Yes.
As much as there's digital divide and technology-related issues.
Oh, that's
Maybe they
fantastic.
want to engage more on that.
But I think all of them feature.
No, I think all of them are important, but it is just that we are trying to determine what the majority of us think is the most important, and maybe, go into the least important.
So we are arguing that you cannot separate digital, all of these 3 that you are showing, digital divide and student engagement and technology-related issues. You can't really separate them when you are in the classroom. When you are dealing with the problem of engagement, it may be because of technology-related issue, or it may be because of the digital divide. So in the real classroom setting, you cannot actually separate the 3 aspects. So yes, we are faced with student engagement issues, but what accounts for that are the other 2 aspects that you are showing.
Yeah. And just to add on what Dr. Musara said, you might find that you want the students to engage and you want to use a digital platform. Now, you might find that the classroom that you are using at that particular moment, it's not even suitable for technological related technology. It's not technologically advanced. So how do you now engage with the students now? Because now you'll have to now engage with some students and you'll leave these ones who do not have the technological means or devices. Now it's dividing on its own, because I remember I had a situation where I want to probably use technology in classroom, and it was an issue of, say, I don't have that particular device that you are asking us to use in class. So now, then all of them now features in the classroom.
And also, adding to that is that in our context, I'm sure in your part of the world, it's also, you have the same experience. Some of our students have never touched a computer as they enter in the university space. So it takes us a long time to get them to a point where they're on the same level as those who have.
are comfortable with
and are comfortable with using. So it's about also digital literacy.
Yes, absolutely. So I think we've got 15 votes for, I'm hoping the next poll or the question which comes up, we'll have everybody joining in. We'll stop the polling at 15 votes. We can clearly see that student engagement is a problem, followed by technology related issues and the digital divide. So as someone pointed out, all three are factors, and also some are linked, and they are related and linked to each other. We will just do a quick discussion on how these are related, because in order to find a solution, we have to understand the problem at hand first. And to do that, let us quickly understand, when we are saying digital divide, we are saying, so we will of course come to student engagement, which seems to be obviously the most important and significant challenge which everyone is facing. Now we're talking about digital divide. Digital divide is a question, is a state of, basically it is also what we could say, those who have access to computers and those who don't have access or don't have ready access to computers, because at the end of the day you do need a computer to access. We can build the greatest e-learning course, but students need to have access and digital access to be able to access that course. Now, I'm sure you have come across situations where there are students who have maybe, they are able to access some of the resources or some of the digital material within the, say, on campus, or if they're using or a library or any such place. But many students, and I mean, I come from India and I can say it's the same. Many students don't have access to computers at home, maybe. So in that situation, when you're trying to over digitalize, or if you're trying to introduce digitalization, the first question is, does every student have access to a computer? So that is one. Second is, what is the quality or what is the kind of bandwidth available? Are the resources that you are asking them to use or that you are providing, do they consume a lot of bandwidth, especially in areas or in regions where maybe bandwidth is a problem or Wi-Fi is expensive? So there could be, so probably in public access areas or in university areas, etc., Wi-Fi may be free, but Wi-Fi access is not free for people at home. So then if they have to pay for that Wi-Fi access in order to access the digital resources, is it fair to students at that point in time? What can you do? One solution is for students for all, to be able to cater to all kinds of students, is to, of course, you cannot, as I said, we cannot run away from technology, and we cannot put a stop to everything and say, okay, no, so that means we will not, there cannot be a black and white solution where we say, okay, fine, everybody doesn't have access to computers, so fine, we don't use any technology. That's not the answer. At the same time, we have to be sensitive to the needs and the situations of students. So it's a very fine line that we are treading over here. One solution, and this is tried and tested, this is on a project that I had worked on, which was in fact rolled out in villages in India. It was huge. I think there were 50,000 students it was rolled out to. Not everybody had access, and there were people who were not very familiar with computers, didn't have resources to have very high bandwidths, or maybe didn't have access to computers at all. So one way to do it is, every time when you have a digital resource or you have a digital tool that you're using, you equally make sure there is a non-digital version available for someone who is not able to access that resource. And the learner, in all of these scenarios, the learner does not feel penalized or left behind. That's extremely important. So the solution which I was talking about is, when you're creating a digital tool, you equally also make sure there is a backup or there is a non-digital solution for the same tool. And the learner, if the learner does not have access to a computer, is not literate enough when it comes to computers, is not penalized in every manner, and you are able to offer equal opportunity for all learners, which serves to mitigate this digital divide. Now, the digital divide is not just, I would say, for learners who don't have, say, those who have computers and who don't have computers. There are also learners who are differently abled. I think when we were doing the introductions, was it Bridget, if I got the name correctly, who talked about working with differently abled learners. So here again, is whatever resources or whatever digital tools that you're providing the learner with, are they accessible, and can they be accessed by people who have different say ways or approaches towards learning, or who have some sort of disability, or who are differently abled in some way, who need to be able to access the same resources. So for example, if you have a video and there is a learner who has, say, a visibility issue, has low visibility issue, so is not able to view the video very well on a screen, or has, say, issues with distinguishing colors, maybe colorblind. So are you pointing at, say, for example, in the video, is there something which is, say, blue, which they asked to identify? Would such a learner be able to do that? Say a learner who has a hearing disability, the digital tool that you're providing, would they still be able to access it? So for example, again, if it's a video, would a person with a hearing disability be able to access the video? Does anybody have a solution? I know, I can tell you the solution. I just want to hear if anybody has an answer to what would you do in a situation where there is a resource which you want all learners to access, and there are some learners who have maybe a hearing disability. How would you approach that?
If I can come in, I'm not sure about the hearing disability, but I can just mention that I've had a very interesting case in my present History of Art 1 class, where, we deal with visuals, artworks, paintings, and the student is colorblind. And part of what they have to do is to describe the visual elements, including particular types of color uses, like complementary colors. And this is quite a problem. I did ask her to work with her friends and so on, and to put up her hand when there's an issue, but I don't know how to address that.
Okay, so digitalization now does allow you, or e-learning, for in this case, I will be more specific and say e-learning, for example, does allow you to create learning which addresses accessibility issues for all kinds of learners. So in this case, the specific case that you just described, whatever is, so if there is, say, a visual of red bus on screen, And obviously, if the learner is colorblind, the learner is not able to distinguish. They can probably see the bus, whether it's blue or red or green, doesn't matter. And maybe what the learning material is, it's necessary for them to know it's a red bus. What we would do is use something called alt text, which is basically a visual description of each and every object, each and every image, each and every illustration, or any object which is used on screen automatically has a visual description tagged to it. So, and it is visual enough. So even if the learner cannot even see the bus, they are able to know or understand that this is what they are supposed to be seeing on screen. And it does not, again, going back to what I said, it does not penalize the learner for that disability or for that lack of ability. Another way would be, for example, something like, or somebody who's colorblind, if you say, or not colorblind, but somebody who has poor visibility or visibility issues, for example, not using, I think there's some visual communication people over here. For example, not using, say, lime green text on a yellow background, most likely it will not be visible to those who are colorblind and those who have visibility issues. So contrasts in everything that you use on screen, the correct contrast, the correct percentage, there are actual exact percentage of colors which you need to use to make sure that those who suffer from various disabilities or who have, say, color blindness or visibility issues are able to access material comfortably. A video, going back to the video that I was talking about, somebody who, say, cannot hear say the dialogue on a video, how would they know what is there in the video? So closed captioning, or making sure a video is closed caption, is another way to make sure they are able to know what is happening on screen without actually being able to hear. Similarly, screen readers. I don't know if any of you have worked with students who use screen readers for accessing things on screen. There are digital materials which, if created correctly and designed correctly, keeping accessibility issues in mind, there are actually there is a technology which allows the screen that they are accessing to be read out to them literally, without them having to even look at the screen, or even if they are not able to, say, click. Typically in e-learning you have clicks, right? You click from here to there, or you click to reveal things, or pop-ups open, etc. So screen readers allow them to access all of the resources, all of the material, without actually, again, penalizing them for the disability, which is very, very interesting. And accessibility, the requirements, the way we are being able to actually meet the needs for learners with disabilities has been surprisingly, and I would say very, very amazingly developed in the last 2 years, I think. And also still there are updates coming in almost, I think, every month, every 2 months. There are new ways or new techniques which may look like small techniques, but when you actually put them all together, they are useful for people who have accessibility issues. So that is, I think, when we're talking about digital divide, this is extremely important. I know it got just 2 votes, but I think if you delve deeper into the issue, it is an issue which is there for many, many learners abroad, across the world. Not all learners are privileged enough to have a computer or to have the ability to access material. Now we come to student engagement. Yes, of course, I know this is what everybody talked about. Student engagement, again, why are we actually struggling with student engagement? How many of us have actually come across students fiddling with their phones or fiddling with, the tension just not being there when they are teaching in the class? For the simple reason, if you've seen, and most of us have seen, say, videos on YouTube, or you've seen reels on Instagram or Facebook or social media, for example, nothing is more than a minute. Even a 2-minute video is really long. So now imagine that same learner or student sitting through a 40-minute or a 45-minute or a 1 hour long lecture, however interesting, however much effort and time that you put into that. But the question is, do they have the attention span to grasp or absorb or be receptive enough to absorb what you're teaching? So the question is, what can you do to get their attention, and at the same time make sure whatever it is, you've put in effort, you've put in time into your whatever you want to teach, you still get it across, but you just get it across in a different manner. Maybe you use a different approach. So obviously, when you're struggling with engagement, something somewhere is going wrong. You cannot change, I think we all know, we cannot change the mindset of students and suddenly just saying pay attention, or ask them to stop looking at phones or stop looking. But that's not the solution. The solution is, what can you do to make sure what you're teaching is as digestible? And because typically they don't have a problem, if you ask them to look through social media, they will look through social media very comfortably. But at the same time, if you ask them to attend a session, a lecture, or read through something, they are going to basically zone out, like all young people like saying, or switch off. So what is it that you can do? What are the tools that you can use in your teaching, in your methodology? So some of the tools that you can use, maybe these are some of you may have already used. Some of them are ideas that you could use. Of course, you have your lesson which you're teaching, but also use things like discussion boards within. Has anybody actually used a discussion board over here? No one, I'm guessing, has used a discussion board.
If you're talking about sort of old style bulletin board things, we've had that on some of our introductory lectures where we have students participate there. And for example, how do you solve vocabulary problems? And then the students kind of post their own experiences of that. With moderate success, I suppose. You don't get, well, our experience has been that you get about 20% of students, 25% of students responding to that. But it does foster engagement.
Yes. A discussion board, for example, as you mentioned, in conjunction with other tools, in conjunction with other methods, would probably yield on its own, probably, as you said, 20% students may be engaged with it. But other methods, for example, being able to maybe message you directly if they have questions. There are learners who are disengaged. A disengaged learner is not likely to ask questions in class. typically as a teacher, what would you ideally like for students to be asking you questions? But not every student will, it's like we are seeing over here, right? Not everyone is, despite however many times I tell you, not everybody is engaging, or not everybody will engage, because everybody has different styles of learning, or different styles of absorbing what is being taught. Some people are more forthcoming or forthright, some people are not. So having a variety of tools, so if you have just a discussion board, or just a chat feature, or just something on its own, standalone tools rarely will give you very good results, because again, there will be just a percentage of people engaging. But a variety of tools, a variety of methods, if administered in the right manner, are likely to receive yield more results, because you are actually catering to. Yes, please.
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting aspect here. And I'm just reminded that most of the colleagues had mentioned that they have really large classes. And I wanted to know, are there any other strategies that could be used? One, especially for engagement. If they have 300 in a class, whether they divide it into three or whatnot, how can they actually engage more? And that's number one. Naturally, there are those students who would not speak until such time that you actually just prompt them to do so. How can that work? Some would really become very uncomfortable in speaking in public.
Exactly.
Are there any other strategies that could actually be employed beside the other one, the technology aspect there, to say if you do the discussion forum on the board or whatnot, what else can be done in practical terms?
Yes, thank you so much for the question. There is another raised hand. We'll just go across to you as soon as I've answered this question. Yes, so discussion board, why I started off with discussion board, because it is something typically which I've seen in universities. A lot of teachers have used with varying results, like 20% engagement. But what typically happens is you're using just the discussion board, or at best a chat feature. But if you're using the right strategy, so there has to be a correct strategy to incorporate all of these. Now, a chat feature, for example, would work probably with a very shy student who didn't want to, maybe would feel uncomfortable asking the question in the class. But because students are extremely comfortable texting, the student would be quite happy to ask you the same question via text. There could be other students as well. Now, coming to other strategies, how about asking them, okay, in this case, how you turn it around is you ask them to create a presentation on a topic, but they don't present it in class, because again, there are students who are scared of coming up and talking in class, who suffer from stage fright. Not everybody likes being in the public eye. What if they were able to make the presentation digitally, without actually having to come up on screen and in the classroom and actually in real time speaking? That is one. Two is, if you administer a poll, just like I did, to understand viewpoints. Yes, everybody may not participate, But have you seen from this time that we started to now, have you seen the engagement which is rising on its own? So initially when we did the first Q&A, I think we had to really prompt people. When we went to the poll also, I think we had just about half the class, and now there are people who are coming forward. So this is what you ideally want in the classroom, where you want the students, you can prompt and you can urge and you can use various methods, but you also want the students to typically engage on their own. That's the ideal situation. So how do you get to a point? You use various. So one is, of course, presentation. Now, why don't you ask them to present something, but not in real time, virtually? Another could be, say, have a poll. Ask them their opinion on something. Um, another tool could be, and this is possible digitally, incidentally. I don't know if any of you have actually used it. So it is possible, say, even within e-learning courses, where you ask the student to actually write a short answer or a reflection, or the kind of a question, or their thoughts on a particular topic. They are not speaking, they're actually writing, and which is subjective. Typically what we associate with e-learning is multiple choice, where you're just selecting or you're checking off something and you're getting a right or wrong answer. Right? That is more of a testing or an assessment methodology. Instead of that, if you move towards a more subjective approach, which is ideal, because a subjective approach allows you to understand the student, allows you to actually evaluate the student much better, where you ask them to pen down their thoughts of what they're thinking about something. So these are some of the digital tools which you can use. You could also ask them to depending on the subject, of course, that you're teaching. If it is say it's a visual related thing, they could all create something, or they could create something digitally and upload it. You could ask them to watch a video, which is of course related to whatever you're teaching, and then provide them with digitally, of course, provide them an option to respond to what they felt after watching the video, or at a particular point in the video. You could say, okay, at say 2:05 of the video, what is it that you would like to say about the video. So these are the tools that you can use in order to increase engagement and make learners more aware also of the fact that they are learning without it becoming very, very tedious for them. I hope I've answered your question. So I will
Yes,
the next one.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, there's a hand from Katako.
Hi, please ask your question.
Katako, we cannot hear you. And there's PG after that.
Okay. No, thank you, Prof. and Sohag. Prof, I think I will respond to what you have asked us, particularly dealing with students of high number of groups. In the School of Philosophy, we have what we call as COM packages. We are offering the study material to students that is incorporated with different resources, your videos, your internet links. So students still don't engage. We also have a forum, we also have messages, students still don't engage. But what I have decided to do recently is to say, when we were doing our meet and greet, I said we have rules that we are going to adhere to. Anyone, if they have some objection against, they should raise their hand. But fortunately, they did not. So what I do is each and every session that we have, every student is expected to come to the lecture hall with a summary in the form of a mind map. Now, everyone is supposed to bring that mind map to class. I allow them to use AI in discussing the subject matter, but I also ask them to critique the response from AI because we believe that AI doesn't have critical thinking. So we said, you can do a summary of a learning chapter in relation to a topic. You can use AI, but I want you to bring the mind map in class and also bring your critique to the response that you got to AI. It's a large number. I cannot get the feedback from all of them, but they know that should I pass next to you and you don't have that summary in front of you, you are likely not to be part and parcel of class. I make some threats to say, if you don't have it, I'm going to chase you out. But fortunately for me so far, it has been working. They all bring the summary, they put it in front of them in class. For me, it's a form of engaging the subject matter, even if they do not engage with the facilitator, but at least they do engage the study material. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really, really great. That's a great example of engagement. And more importantly, the reason it works is because you are using a more application-oriented approach where they're actually applying what they're learning. Now, this is exactly what tools allow us, digital tools or technology allows us to use application-oriented methods to supplement what the theoretical teaching, which in turn can keep the learner engaged. Thank you so much. We'll move to the next question.
Yeah, thank you. It is very interesting. I know technology, I mean, that is the e-learning, the direction that we are taking is actually proper. As we speak, the more I try to engage them is, what is the end game? What are we trying to achieve out of engaging the students? Because, engaging the students without any intention is like, which is not encouraged in any in farming, where you feed your pigs. They're not pigs, you feed your pigs, and you want to check them every day, measure whether they have increased some fat. That's a waste of time, really. That is why there are exams. That's why this is not as frequently done as supposed as the e-learning may want to achieve. So here the question is, how often, how frequent should we be engaging, and for what purpose? Because it's learning. If a person does not speak, does not mean that he has not learned anything, as the Professor Chaka has said. And that those would never say anything, but they will still have learned, and they would display proof that in their competence test, whether it's examination or whatever application later. But now it is like we have to, or we must guard against, in fact, against like frequent, numerous, sometimes not boring, but too engaging engagement. Engagement should not be too engaging because it might take the place of learning to impression, where I want to impress upon you that I've been doing that. So I'm interested in the end game and how frequent should this be? The science might have also proven how frequent and what is the end game. Let us not engage students because they must be engaged. Let us not force people, not force, encourage students to engage the material, to engage the learning, the subject, because we want to see if they are, because it also smacks of deficit of trust. When you're standing there, there could be there's no tabula rasa in my language. Everybody has got some information, a little bit of information. So when I go in there and I suspect that they don't understand me, then that I begin to say, you must engage, and you must engage, and you must engage. So please, in conclusion, we need to be cautious of engagement that should not necessarily replace learning, that should not necessarily create a situation where we want to impress, and should not have an objective. What is it that we're trying to achieve by forcing students, not making students engage the material? Thank you.
No, I absolutely agree with you, which is what in the beginning of my session, when I said we are not out to make a TikTok video, what we are trying to do is support what the learning or support the teaching. So what the material should do, or what the whole point of engagement is to form a cohesive unit between what you're teaching and the supplemental technology or tools that you are using in order to engage the learner. So of course, the student engagement or the tools cannot overpower what you're already teaching. I agree with you. Okay.
Yes. So I see that we actually running out of time. We
Yes.
had budgeted to finish at 1.
Yes.
And it looks like we underestimated the discussion here.
Yeah.
And your presentation as well. You almost 50% towards the end.
Yeah.
But we only have 10 minutes, kind of minutes left.
Think we
I'm
could
not sure what would be the
by
best
15
way to
minutes.
deal with this. Yeah.
Do you think we could extend by 15 minutes? Would that be okay with everyone?
Yes, let's check with colleagues. Can you get maybe extra 15 minutes to finalize?
She's sure that she's going to finish it.
Yeah, they granted the 15 minutes. Some have other engagement, so they will leave in the process, but 15 minutes granted. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay. In the current scenario, so taking all of this into consideration, where are we right now? We've talked about the digital divide. There is also the burden of providing access. Now, these burdens sometimes is with the universities to provide access. Sometimes it could be with, it's not typically with teachers, of course, but it's more with the university, the burden of providing access to students. So how best, that is a challenge, and how best that can be solved again depends on policies, what the learning policy is, what the technology policy is. We have moved to a position where, like everybody said, we moved to classroom and we are using some tech tools. So hybrid is basically a combination of digital and non-digital. Non-digital is your classroom and digital is, of course, the tools that you're using. Okay. What hybrid learning allows you is flexibility. It allows you at least some part of the learning is self-paced, which is the digital part. The rest is synchronous because again, it is in the classroom and you are teaching. That is what you're teaching. But what next we move to is training for lecturers and teachers and training the students on how to use an LMS. It is not that every student, even if you were to put everything on an LMS, like somebody mentioned SCORM packages, SCORM packages will be housed on the LMS. Do the students know how to log in, log out, how to use the different features? If you've got a discussion board, do they know how to answer questions which are put to them? If you provide an assignment, are they always able to access it all the time? If they can't, do they know who to ask or who to turn to? Do they know how to use the full features? Do they have adequate training to be able to actually access the LMS? Now, these are important questions which we need to understand and also follow up with the correct training. The training that, in this case, the training for lecturers and teachers would be how to use the tools, part of which is, of course, what is happening, how to use tools and techniques, why you need to use tools and techniques, and actual training on, say, the LMS, how you uploading resources, what are the resources you're using, how to use a particular feature on, say, somebody who has never used an e-learning course to administer a subjective kind of question. How would they do it? How would students be expected to answer the same question? So these are things we need to think about. When we this is a quote. This is the quote by Elliot Macy, and the reason I've put it here is because he's the person who actually came up with the term e-learning. So people think of the E in e-learning as electronic. It is, but then it is also everywhere learning because you can access it and everywhere on digital devices, hopefully, every day, because you're not stopping. Learning is continuous. We all know that. Engaging, we have spent a lot of time talking about engagement. So yes, it has to be engaging and evolving. So evolving with the needs of the learner, the needs of the learners that are there today. 5 years later, those same needs may change. So for example, before AI happened, the way learners were interacting with learning was different from when you've got say answers and you are not sure, or you have actively discouraged students from using AI. This was not a problem which you had earlier. So again, whatever the learning, the teaching methods have to evolve along with whatever is happening. Now there is a discussion question here, but in interest of time, we'll skip it for the moment. If we have time, we'll come back to it. Okay. Okay. Now, how can e-learning support you? E-learning can support you. And again, there was someone who had a concern that it should not overpower. It is not likely to overpower. Again, that's why I'm using the word support. It has to be consistent, and it can actually help you when you are say taking lectures on 5 different days, and it is the same lecture. Do you always know that you have said the exact same thing in all 5 lectures? Or have some groups of students, have you said some things to them, and maybe some parts of the lecture you have also mentioned, or some parts maybe you have emphasized more in a particular class and maybe you have not emphasized as much in another class. But if you were that same lecture, if you were to digitalize it, whatever you are saying or whatever you're teaching, it would be consistent. It would be the same thing which every student would be able to access in the same manner. So when we say consistent learning, this is how e-learning can help in making whatever you're teaching more consistent. Collaborative learning again, because we've already talked about student engagement, how the learning can happen together with the student instead of just coming from you, where the student and the teacher both come together to take part in the learning, where from the student response, for example, when you are working with them with a digital tool, for example, if they are replying to a question, or they have provided a response, a digital response digitally, you can from the response understand what is it that your next step needs to be, or what you can do to help the learner further. It is easier to do this digitally rather than in real time. When you ask in a class of say 200 or 300, it is not possible for you to go individually to each student and ask them questions, or ask them what they feel about something or what their opinion is. Whereas if you have 200 say answers, and if you are able to say collate them together or analyze them, you can understand by looking at them what the gist is, and what is it that they need, what their needs are, and what you are likely, what your plan should be in order to address the issue, or if you see any issues which are coming up. Third is, of course, the integration of multimedia into your teaching. One is e-learning. So SCORM files, incidentally, are basically the end product for e-learning. So SCORM files or e-learning, digital assessments, digital interactive videos, animations, interactive exercises. Interactive exercises could be, say, a problem solving exercise which you administer digitally, a project which you administer digitally, or some parts of a project which they say that they are supposed to do digitally. Part of the project they do offline or non-digitally. Links, external links to resources, external links to say additional reading. All of these form media, multimedia, which you can integrate into your teaching to make it more robust, and to engage the learner further. There is, I think, a poll over here. So we will come back to the polls and the questions. I don't have too much of the presentation left, but I still would like to do the, get past the presentation before we actually go into the polls and the questions. Now, the question is the difference between good and bad e-learning. I am sure all of you have already, at some point in time, whether in your classroom environment, outside, you have come across examples of e-learning, and some are good, some are bad. Now, what would constitute a bad example of e-learning? Say this same session that I am taking with you, had I just recorded it on my own, without any interaction with you, without being face to face with you, and I had uploaded it and sent you the link, or I'd uploaded it as a course and sent you the video for you to watch. And then after the video, the same questions that we did together, the same responses, etc., the same polls, I added them as questions at the end, and you were asked to just answer them on your own and send across your answers. So that's an example of bad e-learning. Good e-learning, I would say, is, which I mentioned already, where you can have subjective evaluation of the student, where you use tools such as, say, you embed a cheat sheet, or you embed a resource such as a PDF or a aid to memory within the e-learning course. You point to, say, various external sites or links which you would want them to read additionally, or you incorporate additional reading material into the e-learning course. You have scenario based questions in the e-learning course, based on whatever you're teaching, which are applicable to real life. So real life examples where you ask questions, or real life stories which you incorporate into the e-learning or the teaching that you're teaching digitally. So these are some examples of good e-learning. There could be several other examples as well, depending on the subject and depending on what you want to teach. The basic principle is that you will yield better results with the maximum control that you can give the learner, also the maximum interactivity that you can extract from a learner. Now, how do you integrate with your existing systems? So one is, of course, you already have a learning management system in place. How to use it optimally? Are you using it optimally in the first place? Are you using the tools available to you in the learning management system to support your everyday learning, your everyday teaching? So that is one. Two is, do you have the training to be able to integrate technology, or integrate, say, on a learning management system, what are the tools in a learning management system into your everyday teaching? Do you actually know how to use them? And if you don't, have you asked for training, or have you requested for training because that is what you want to do? And do you have an objective in order to, even request or ask for training? You need to have the objective in mind that this is what I want to do. So what is it that you want to do? So one is, of course, what is already existing in terms of your LMS, the existing features, whether you are using them to their maximum or not. Secondly, requesting or asking for training if you have not been using them so far. Yeah. Now, this is the last slide, I think. Technology and compatibility. So this is really, really important for all of you. You can read up more about the first two models that I've mentioned over here. Technology and compatibility to task technology fit model. So basically, what is the task at hand and what is the technology that is available and whether they are a good fit for each other or not. So if you have, say, a student, you want a student to ask a subjective question, or to answer a subjective question, but you're using a technology, say you are using multiple choice questions to ask the question. So for example, a subject like philosophy, where typically you would not be doing a yes no, or a very specific answer, there would a technology which allows only says questions to be selected or an option. Would that work? It wouldn't work. So one is whatever task. So first you have to identify, this is where I want to use the technology and what is the technology available, and match the two. So that is the most important, that model. If you don't, what will happen is stuff like we heard about the discussion board, where there was like 20% engagement. Maybe the technology or the tool, I'm just saying maybe, I don't know, that it was the task and the technology or the tool that was used was maybe not a match. So matching, so typically what you would do and what we do as instructional designers is actually list out, or we'll have a list of what we want to achieve and the exact tools that we are going to use to achieve those. That is how we usually create a structure or a model before we start on a course or learning module. Perceived ease of use, positive learning experience. This is from the point of view of students. Whatever you have created, whatever tool you're using, whatever methodology you have used, does it look easy and user friendly? If it's extremely complicated, then with the learner, when you're already struggling with student engagement, then if whatever you're asking them to do is very complicated, they don't know how to do it, they are not likely to use it. So perceived ease of use is a model. Actually, you can again look this up. It's interesting because it helps you understand from the point of view of the student. So ultimately, whether is it a positive learning experience or not, the engagement largely depends on that. Finally, what is the digital transformation? So as teachers, when we are all undergoing digital transformation to a certain extent. These are the tools that we as educators should be looking at, to keep up with technology, to keep up with whatever is happening, to keep up with the transformation, which we call 21st century skills, which is the 4 C's. Collaboration. So are you collaborating with your students? Critical thinking. Are you challenging their critical thinking? Are you using application-oriented methods? Third, of course, communication. Communication is important, even if you're using a digital tool, but you're not communicating how they're supposed to use the tool. That's going to defeat the purpose. Creative thinking. Creative thinking is how you can creatively use tools to support your learning, not to overpower, not to replace what you're already teaching. We will come to the, I think this is what we've come to the end of the session, more or less. Are there any specific questions which anybody has?
I think we have a question here in the room.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Thank you so very much. As you were presenting, I was thinking to myself, what is it exactly that we want or mean by learning? Because the idea is to use technology to support our efforts for learning amongst our students. But the challenge that we are faced with is a type of student that we as institutions of higher learning are blaming the secondary schools for not having adequately prepared, and the job market is accusing us for not also preparing adequately. At the center of it, we have a strong-willed student who has choices, who exercise their choices every day. They tell you, I know the answer, I don't want to answer that question. They tell you a lot of other things. But we also are busy with a project that assumes the student that we are working with know and have the willingness to learn, which I don't know is present amongst that cohort. But the question is, how can we use technology to facilitate students to take that responsibility, which is a key ingredient in learning, especially in higher education?
Yes, that's a really great question. So the for students, especially what you said is very decisive students or students who have choices, who know what to do, the best way is to move actually from you move towards more of a learner centric approach. When I say learner centric approach, which means you provide them the tools to be able to sort of create their learning path or learning journey. So for example, if you see that you are teaching a particular topic in whatever subject, if you feel that that topic is maybe something that they seem interested about, how you do it is you could maybe have a poll. You figure out that, okay, this is something they're interested in because maybe that particular topic is linked to employment. Not all, like, so everything that we learn in university, we all know that not all topics, not all things are application oriented or specifically linked to jobs or linked to what they're going to do. But from what the learner profile that you've described, it is something which they are decisive, they know what they want to do, and they want to explore. So maybe allow the learner more control. So how could you do that? You could at the beginning of your of course you have a syllabus and you have the curriculum, but allow the learner to direct or at least give them the tools to be able to understand. So for example, you could allow them, say, so it's a question of choice, okay? So a very strong-willed or a very decisive learner does not like to be told that this is how you do it exactly. So you give them choices. So you could ask them to say, if it is an assessment that they need to take, you could give them the choice of taking it digitally, writing it in front of you, or creating a presentation on the same subject, or the whatever you're going to test them on. So giving choices, when you use digital tools or technologies, it allows you to give choices to the learner which you normally would not be able to give in a traditional classroom environment. You would be limited by the choices which you can provide, but you can provide a lot of different choices to the learner. By providing choices, you are able to sort of give the, I will not say, maybe illusion is the wrong word, but to convince them that they have choices available and it is not being forced down their throat. Most young people like being in control, like the fact that things are not being forced onto them, and that itself is would be a turning point for your teaching methodology, where you are able to actually get them to do what. So your end objective is to assess or test the learner, just that the methodology, maybe you are allowing them to choose it, but you are still achieving whatever your end objective was. I hope I've answered what you asked.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we've run out of time.
Yeah,
But from my side, I just wanted to say thank you. But there is a dedicated person who will say thanks to you and the colleagues who have joined us. And her name is Dr. Chilombo Banda.
So I think I speak on behalf of everybody that we have really had fruitful discussions in this session, and a big thank you to you, Sohag, for I know you're also quite busy, but thank you for pulling for giving us your time and presenting to us this very informative and there's a lot to engage on, and I don't think that the conversation stops here because technology is forever evolving. So I think we should just keep this conversation going and see with the ways and means that we can incorporate e-learning into our teaching and learning from here going forward. And thank you to the colleagues both online and in this space for also taking time out to come and engage on these really important issues to support our students because they are our core business. So thank you so much, and maybe some other time we will meet again and continue this discussion and the conversations.
Yes, thank you so much for that wonderful summarization. Professor Chaka, thank you so much for inviting me. As you can see, it's the discussion is the tip of the iceberg, and that's the reason why I overshot the time is because it is a very deep discussion, very difficult to cover within even an hour and a half. If anybody has any questions, or you could, of course, reach out to Professor Chaka, or you could get in touch with me. My email, phone number, this is our website. You could get in touch. And I hope that, in the coming days, I will engage and interact with all of you more.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello?
The slides.
You're muted.
Yes, I think you're muted.
Is it possible for us to get the slides? Some colleagues are asking.
Yes, I could send across the slides, and I will also be sending across. We'll need to, of course, make some edits to leave out the initial recording, etc. But I will also have the recording sent across to Professor Chaka. So if you would like to, if someone hasn't attended or would like the recording, they could have that too. And I will send across the presentation right after we finish this session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.